you thought of the speech?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought the intro was really cool, just the way you were describing it. Like from the beginning, I thought I was like listening to a car commercial. I really enjoyed it. There are great descriptions of the car, just how it sets it apart from other cars. I liked all the visuals were really good. The first visual was cool. Just the visuals with the explanation of the frame made it easier to understand how this car separates itself from other Mercedes and things like that. I like the stats that were given with the weight distribution and how it helps out in its performance. There were a lot of the other visuals were cool to see, just with the inside and how it's like basically being in a cockpit and how it's basically different from any other luxury vehicle that you could get into. I liked that. There's a good explanation of how this car differs from a regular transmission, and explaining clearly how it's basically as if it was just one gear instead of that shift change, and how it just goes for a smoother drive and how it'll perform better. I like the stat of the 0 to 60 in 3 whatever seconds. That just goes on to prove that this isn't just your regular luxury vehicle, but it's a performance vehicle that should be used for racing and things like that. I also enjoyed the slight humor that you brought. The and the this and the that. It just made it more entertaining, and I thought altogether it was a very good presentation.
Thank you. All right. Yeah, I like the ad slogan attitude at the beginning of the speech as a way to get started. That creates some good energy. I did think that it went on a little long during the presentation, and so we're getting promoted quite a bit here on this. And I appreciate your admiration of the car, and certainly there's a lot of it that's very appealing. But it does sound very much like some salesperson's wet dream that you're giving us. And I think that you need to tone that down a little bit and maybe talk a little bit more directly about the context of the car. You heard immediately the first questions that were popping into people's heads at the end were how much is this, availability, those kinds of questions, and those are things that never get talked about. I have to be honest, I like cars, but I'm not a gearhead, so as soon as you start talking about manifolds and intakes and all this other stuff, that's a snooze fest for me. I did appreciate, though, that you had a good explanation about what the crazy close configuration was on the transmission. I thought you did a good job explaining that and why it mattered. The images are usually large and easy to see, and they're integrated in the speech. I just think that the material was not as well organized as it needed to be. All the presentation things with your voice are really solid. If I'm just listening to you, that's a pretty good presentation. If I'm watching you, though, sometimes you're talking to yourself, sometimes you're talking to the screen, you're not always talking to us. So just listening is fine, but watching you, I think, is a little bit problematic. You need to have a little bit more control of the material. I think you get carried away on some of the technical specifications, and there's got to be a better way to organize this. All right, thank you.